Great leadership is, by definition, relentlessly developmental. Of course, this is absolutely true. No card-carrying leader would ever answer false to that question. Every true leader knows deep down they should turn in their leadership badge if they fail to develop emerging leaders. It's partially why God made us leaders, to prepare the next generation for key leadership roles. But where I see thick clouds of confusion all over the place these days is in the how. So many leaders I meet have secretly concluded nobody really knows how best to develop emerging leaders. It's vague, it's mysterious, it's probably cost prohibitive. So they quietly give up on leadership development, and they feel guilty every single day for doing so. Because in their spirit, they know they ought to be developing leaders. Recently, our senior leadership team spent a full day with Bob Eichinger. He's a leadership development guru. He's spent his entire adult life gaining clarity on what is the best way to develop leaders. Now, here's what he found in rank order. Among the 5 top ways to develop emerging leaders is to, 1, put them in high challenge roles. In other words, make their job a stretching, challenging job that will keep them developing and growing. 2, assign them to a short-term task force. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Offer them real-time feedback. That'll make them better. That'll develop them. Provide them with coaching and mentoring. It helps a ton. Statistics show it. And finally, at the bottom of the list, offer them classroom courses and seminars. Now, you're all wondering right now, why are you sitting in a classroom if it's 5th on the list of what best develops leaders? My answer to that is you're in the class to learn 4 better ways to develop leaders. And as I said earlier, the one that I want to put under the microscope for a few moments is number 2, assigning people to short-term task forces. Very few of us would ever buy a car without taking it for a test drive. Short-term task forces allow you to test drive an emerging leader's potential before you put them in a major leadership role. But according to Bob Eichinger, the test drive or task force assignment must meet the following 5 criteria. First, success or failure must both be possible. This has to be for real, this task force assignment. Second, the emerging leader must take full charge. They have to have full authority. Third, the emerging leader must work with a wide variety of people, hopefully all across the organization. Fourth, the task must involve real pressures, and it must have a deadline. Fifth, the end product and performance must be evaluated by a senior leader. Now, please get this if you get nothing else about how leadership development really works. What you're really looking for when you're trying to develop tomorrow's leaders is how, big word now, is how resourceful they are. In many ways, resourcefulness is the most essential weapon in a leader's arsenal. Why? Because senior leaders in great big jobs in organizations around the world, they lead in such fluid and chaotic environments that they rarely know exactly what is the right thing to do. There's no formula. There's no roadmap for them to follow at their level. So they become experts in this thing called resourcefulness. Before you put any emerging leader into a senior leadership role, you simply must ascertain what they're going to do when they don't know what to do. Because in fact, they will rarely know what to do once they're in a great big job. So what are they going to do? Are they going to quit? Are they going to cry? Are they going to shut down? Are they going to fake it? Or will they dig in, dig down, and demonstrate determination, creativity, collaboration with others, and will they eventually figure it out? In today's complex world, no senior leader can possibly know enough right now to be equipped to handle what's going to be thrown at him or her within days of being entrusted with a great big role. So learning agility or resourcefulness is so important. Last year, due to a staff transition, I was looking for someone on my senior staff who might become my executive pastor. After several conversations, I narrowed my selection to a 38-year-old woman who was one of the finest people managers on our staff. In previous years, I had increased her scope of responsibility several times. She had exceeded my expectations every time. But around Willow, the executive pastor role is the next largest role other than my role, and I really wanted to get this appointment right. So I decided to offer this woman 2 critical task force tests to discern if she was ready for this role. The first was to put her in charge of the entire budgeting process all across Willow for 1 season. This involves both a lot of money and a lot of staff who have definite plans for how that money ought to be spent. And she figured that out, and there was no bloodshed. And then I had her complete the task of the construction of our care center, an $11.5 million project. She built a great team, solved 100 problems, got it done on time, under budget. She figured that out. And after doing a fantastic job in both those tests, I and all of her colleagues cheered her on when I appointed her as our next executive pastor. Senior leaders, the challenge comes now right in your face. When is the last time you've taken the time to assign an emerging leader to a pass-fail task force test to determine their resourcefulness? You have young leaders all around you. Some of them are so much better than you think they are. The reason you haven't put them in bigger roles is you think they're too young. Some of them have amazing resourcefulness, and at a quite young age, they could carry a quite senior role. How are you ever going to find that out? Flip coins? I make the strongest challenge and suggestion that you take the time to put together some of these task force tests, and you put young people in them and you see how resourceful they are. You evaluate them and then do what God leads you to do.